Good morning, Year 4. It's me, Mrs. Shaw again, and it's lesson 4 of our Beowulf text. It's Thursday, and it's the 14th of January. So if you could put the date and the title for me, please, with R circled for retrieval, then we can get on. And you can, when you've done that, answer the 2 questions, really. Pop the correct word into each of the statements on the right. Okay, let's go through the 2 sentences. So you needed to put in the correct verb, was or were, into each of the sentences. So you was first in the line or you were first in the line. The correct answer is you were first in the line. The second one is there was a bright light there was a bright light shining, or there were a bright light shining. We talked about this the other day, I think, and how the singular thing would need was. So the answer is there was a bright light because there's one light. There's possibly one you, but it might be a group. You might be talking to a group saying you were first in the line, so the group of people. So as we're talking to somebody specifically, and we don't know how many there are, it is you were first in the line. Okay, let's carry on. I am excited to remember what happens next. I remember doing this last year, but it's a great book. So there's lots going on, and it is quite amusing as well. So we're going to read pages 29 to 34 and find out what happens next. Maybe you've read ahead. I did think that. If you've been on Bug Club, I would find it really hard not to read ahead. So I hope you enjoyed it if you did, and if you haven't, then you've got a good sort of middle and ending to come. Okay, let's read chapter 4. Not another party. In order to keep out of sight, I needed a cunning disguise. Thinking quickly, I hid my monstrous self by speckling leaves over my sticky skin. I made an excellent job of it. No one would recognize me, not even my mother. I then followed the band to the hall. I think Beowulf suspected they were being tailed, but every time he turned, I pretended to be a tree, and his eyes slid right over me. Pretty clever. Did you hear something, men? Beowulf asked. No, sir, replied his band. I couldn't blame them. My ears were still ringing from Beowulf's truly terrible singing. I could have sworn, but no, that would be foolish. No monster dares come within 10 feet of me in broad daylight. Beowulf shook his head and continued walking. When the Geats reached the hall, the doors were flung open. Beowulf, cried the king of the Danes, you look just like your father. We were fighting buddies in the good old days. Beowulf bowed. I bring his greetings, sire. He told me that he owed you a favour, so I am here in his place. Got a little monster trouble, I understand. The king looked glum. Not little, I'm afraid. So many good strong warriors have come to my hall, promised to stay awake overnight and defend us from the monster, but then the next morning... He grimaced. Next morning what? Asked Beowulf. Nothing but a pile of bones and a mess on the floor. All my cleaning staff have resigned. They refuse to deal with it any longer. Beowulf smiled with supreme self-confidence. Don't worry, sire, I'm here to help. Your problems are at an end. The king clapped his hands. In that case, let's have a party. I groaned. Beowulf cupped his ear. Did you hear that? What? The king frowned. I could have sworn I heard a fiendish growl, said Beowulf. The king listened. Nope, I don't hear anything, he said. Beowulf shook himself. Oh well, I must still have water in my ears from the voyage. What was that you said about a party? The doors to the hall crashed shut behind the Geats and the Danes, locking me out. It did not stop the noise of the party reaching me. Through a little window I could see them all enjoying themselves, eating, drinking, and singing outrageous songs in which the killing of monsters featured very heavily. The king's wife proposed a toast, and they all cheered Beowulf, and he hadn't even done anything yet. It was time that Geet learned he was not so great after all. Okay, we'll stop there. So we've got some questions. If you'd like to, if I just let you see the full screen, if you want to go and answer those now, we'll come back and answer them together in a minute. So if you're unsure of any, leave them and we'll do them together after you've paused right now. Okay, let's go through. So question 1. On page 29, what did Grendel use to hide himself? Why did he need a disguise? So if we go back to the text, we'll go back to 29. Here we go. So what did he use to disguise himself? Why did he need a disguise? So it's 2 answers. I would start my sentence with Grendel used, and then if we go back through, we need to retrieve the information. We've got R today for retrieval. So I hid my monstrous self by speckling leaves over my sticky skin. I made an excellent job of it. No one would recognize me, not even my mother. So here we go. And down here, I pretended to be a tree. So if we go back to the question, what did Grendel use to hide himself? He used leaves and pretended to be a tree. He needed to do this so that Beowulf and his men didn't see him. Okay, because he didn't want to make his move just yet, I don't think. He wanted to have a cunning plan, maybe wait until night time when he's at his strongest. So I followed the band to the hall. I think Beowulf suspected they were being tailed. So yeah, he didn't want them to know he was following them and kind of making a plan and plotting against them as well. Okay, so question 2. Why did the cleaning staff resign? What does resign mean? So I'm going to find that word in the text. I'm going to retrieve what bit of information I can. So it comes back to here. I think it was the next page. So, nothing but a pile of bones and a mess on the floor. All my cleaning staff have resigned. They refused to deal with it any longer. So, if we go back to the question, why did the cleaning staff resign? You would start with the cleaning staff resigned because there was nothing. You could say there was nothing but a pile of bones and a mess on the floor. But this happened a lot, I think. If we go back to the other page, with the noise. So he says, so many good, strong warriors have come to my hall, promised to stay awake overnight. So it's happened over and over again, trying to defend them from the monster, and they've ended up dead. So the cleaners have resigned because there was mess on the hall floor all the time from all the warriors being killed, and resigned means that they gave up their job. They left their cleaning job because I don't think it'd be a very nice one, do you? Let's go to question 3. On page 32, why did Grendel groan? Let's go back. Page 32, same page. I'm going to find groan because that's what we're... I groaned. So Grendel, we're thinking about the book. It is written in kind of the first person by Grendel because it's his recount of what happened. So the king clapped his hands. In that case, let's have a party. I groaned. Well, we know from before that Grendel doesn't like parties. He doesn't like noise. And so we've got the sentence just before he groaned. This happened. The king said, in that case, let's have a party. So the answer to our question would be Grendel groaned because the king said they were going to have a party. Question 4. What featured very heavily in the songs and why do you think this is? Let's just... Okay, so if we go back to this page here, the question is what featured very heavily in the songs? Why do you think this is? It says, we find the word heavily, and it is talking about singing outrageous songs. So we'll go back to the start of this sentence, and then we might put it into context. Through a little window, I could see them all enjoying themselves, eating, drinking, and singing outrageous songs in which the killing of monsters featured very heavily. The king's wife proposed a toast, and they all cheered Beowulf, and he hadn't even done anything yet. So they sang a lot about killing monsters. So what featured very heavily in the songs? The songs talked about killing monsters a lot. And why do you think this is? Well, there could be a couple of different reasons. It could be that they sung about it because they hoped for it. They sang about it because they believed that it was going to happen, that was their wish, and that they were defiant. They weren't going anywhere, so they would get rid of the monster. It might be, sometimes you sing about things that you're scared of, and it was a way of them making them feel more brave about the situation. So anything like that, really. That in the future, in the end, they hoped that the monster would be gone and they wouldn't have to fight them anymore. Okay, great stuff. So our plenary. Can you have a look at your prediction from earlier this week? What would you change? So you made a prediction on Tuesday, I think it was. If you have a look at that, is there anything that's happened that's different? Maybe you haven't got to find out whether your prediction is correct or incorrect yet, or partly correct. Just think to yourself and kind of say to yourself, you don't have to write anything down, whether your prediction is correct or not yet, and maybe whether you have to go back to it and have another look next week when we've read a bit more. Great. So that's the end of reading skills for this week. I think Mr. Smith will be with you for reading skills next week, and I will speak to you again soon. Have a lovely rest of your day, everyone. Take care. Bye.